Hey everyone, Erick Stakelbeck here. This week on the Watchman Newscast, is the world's most notorious terrorist organization ready to make a comeback? Find out this week, only right here on the Watchman Newscast. Folks, last week here on the Watchman Newscast, I sounded the alarm about the United States' decision to pull troops out of Syria, basically paving the way for a Turkish invasion and abandoning our Kurdish allies, leaving them at the mercy of the Turkish tyrant Recep Erdogan. Unfortunately, my worst fears have been confirmed over the past week and a half. We've seen Turkish forces go on a rampage throughout northern Syria with the help of the Free Syrian Army, an outfit that is littered with jihadists. And according to reports from on the ground, they are committing atrocities and war crimes against the Kurds, bombing Kurdish villages indiscriminately, threatening the large Christian population in northeastern Syria. And we have also seen at least 130,000 people displaced already in just a week and a half of fighting. So, as we warned here last week on the Watchman Newscast, Recep Erdogan and the Turkish regime have been empowered. He is a radical Islamist in the Muslim Brotherhood mold, and now he is on the warpath, quite literally, in northern Syria. So, he has been empowered. The Iranian regime has been empowered by this decision. We now see the Iranians with a clear path to the Mediterranean. That's been their dream all along, right? To have that land corridor stretching from Iran through Iraq, through Syria, all the way through Lebanon, all the way to the Mediterranean at Israel's doorstep. Now they have it. There's no U.S. troops there to kind of act as a buffer. Vladimir Putin and Russia are also empowered, as is Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian dictator. Remember him? The Kurds now have been backed into a corner. They're fearing genocide at the hands of this Turkish invasion, so they have reached out to Bashar al-Assad and to Russia seeking protection. That's what happens when the United States leaves a vacuum, folks. The world's worst actors fill it, and that's exactly what we're seeing unfold right now in Syria. Now, there's one other very, very nasty actor in Syria that may be due for a comeback, God forbid, and that's ISIS. I want to get into that this week. The ISIS threat, how real is the threat of an ISIS resurgence in the wake of all the chaos in Syria? Before I do that, I want to remind you to subscribe to our Watchman News channel here on YouTube. Subscribe, give us a big thumbs up, and like what we are doing. We're bringing you the kinds of cutting-edge, timely, relevant stories that you just won't hear anywhere else. Certainly not in the mainstream media, but you will find them right here on the Watchman Newscast. Okay, ISIS. We were in Syria in the first place because of ISIS. Remember in 2014, in 2015, when ISIS was the scourge of the world, conquering some 34,000 square miles of territory in Iraq, in Syria, in the heart of the Middle East, forming, announcing a brand new modern-day caliphate, beheading American journalists left and right, releasing these sick, gory propaganda videos, attracting thousands of Western recruits, foreign fighters who flocked to Syria and Iraq to join this new Islamic empire that ISIS said that they were forming. Remember, the rise of ISIS was the reason that American troops had to return to the Middle East in the wake of that hasty and disastrous withdrawal of all U.S. troops from Iraq in 2011 by President Obama. We had to go back. We defeated the physical caliphate on the ground. The territorial ISIS caliphate is gone. It's finished. Much credit to President Trump for that. He kept his promise. But the ISIS ideology lives on, and there are fears right now. With all the chaos in northern Syria, where there are some 10,000 ISIS prisoners being guarded by the Syrian Democratic Forces, there are fears that those 10,000 ISIS prisoners, not to mention thousands of their family members, women, children, and those women, hey, some of them are those jihadi brides, very vicious ISIS female fighters. There's serious concern right now, folks, that they could go free, that there could be a massive prison break. And one of the things that's troubling about that is it seems that the United States is saying, hey, Turkey will handle that. If jihadists get loose, Turkey's in charge and they will round up the ISIS fighters and put them back in prison. They will check the ISIS fighters and make sure that there is no kind of ISIS resurgence. Big problem, folks. Again, Recep Erdogan is a radical Islamist in the Muslim Brotherhood mold. He's the same guy who, at the height of the caliphate, 2014, 2015, the Turkish-Syrian border was wide open. Foreign fighters were transiting back and forth, flying into Turkey, crossing that border right into Syria. That was Erdogan supposedly fighting ISIS just a few years ago during the height of the caliphate, and I don't think he'll be in too much of a rush now. It won't be at the top of his priority list to round up ISIS fighters as he's marauding through northern Syria. Not only that, remember, Erdogan openly harbors Hamas terrorists on Turkish soil. So I don't see him as a great anti-terror warrior, to say the least. I think it's a mistake. I think it's a fox guarding the henhouse type situation to expect Erdogan to be overseeing ISIS fighters and preventing their resurgence. Not only that, remember, we had thousands of foreign fighters, folks. People from France, Britain, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, Italy, and yes, the United States. They flocked to the ISIS caliphate. They joined up with ISIS. Many of them were killed there in Syria and Iraq. At least 2,000 of these foreign fighters are imprisoned right now in northern Syria. Hey, if they get loose, talk about a worst case scenario. And I wrote a book about this in 2015 called ISIS Exposed, where I outlined the ISIS threat to the West. A major component of that threat was foreign fighters, Western recruits flocking to the caliphate, becoming battle-hardened, battle-tested on the battlefields of Syria, and then these Western passport holders return home to places like Britain, France, Germany, the United States. And folks, when they come back, they're not going to just get a job at McDonald's and transition peacefully back into civilian life. There's a good chance they will try to resume their jihad on Western soil. I don't think they'll be able to establish a large territorial empire like they did in 2014, 2015. They're not going to conquer 34,000 square miles of territory, but amid all the chaos, the indiscriminate aerial bombardments going on in Syria right now, ISIS could reconstitute itself and maybe carve out a small slice of land there in Syria. And let's hope that ISIS doesn't find a safe haven in Syria where they can plot and plan attacks against the West. We saw them strike several times in places like France, Germany, Belgium at the height of their power back in 2014, 2015, 2016. But although ISIS is a very serious threat, I'm even more concerned about the budding alliance between Russia, Iran, and Turkey. Folks, this is something to keep an eye on very closely. What happens in the Middle East does not stay in the Middle East. That's why we want you to join our team at Christians United for Israel. We are America's largest pro-Israel organization, over 7 million members, and growing every day for such a time as this, standing in the gap for Israel, for America, for the Kurds, for all that is good and true in these crazy, crazy, upside-down times in which we live. You see the information there on your screen. You see the phone number. You see the URL. Join us today. And if you love the Watchman Newscast, we want you, number one, to subscribe. Like us. Give us a big thumbs up. Like our YouTube channel and subscribe. We're bringing you these newscasts every Thursday with even more to come in the future. We're working on that. But also check out our Watchman television show. Now, that's every Friday night on TBN. That's the world's largest Christian television network, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, and then on the Fox Business Network. Just started this month, Fox Business, sister network of the Fox News Channel, the number one name in cable news here in the United States. Fox Business every Sunday night or early Monday morning, 12:30 a.m. here on the East Coast where I live, 11:30 Central, 9:30 p.m. Pacific. On the West Coast, we are in prime time every Sunday night on the Fox Business Network. Don't miss it. Now, we will continue to update you here on the Watchman Newscast about the events unfolding in Syria seemingly by the hour. So join us again right here next Thursday. Until then, thanks for joining us this week. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.